Dear relationship cynics and relationship romantics, my name is Monice, and you are listening to the Romantic Cynic podcast. On this week's episode, I wanted to talk about life after a breakup. Yes, the nitty gritty of it all, and what my self journey looked like after my divorce. So I hope you join me on today's episode where we might mix in some laughter, maybe some tears, some romance, and of course, some cynicism. Welcome to episode 10. Life after a breakup. What does that look like? It could look like a variety of different things to a variety of different people. And I wanted to focus more on the positive aspects of that versus just the negative. I feel that it's easy to go down such a negative path very quickly when you are coping with the loss of a relationship. And it doesn't matter if which party you are on, whether you're the one that walked away or the one that didn't want the relationship to end. And usually there will be a mourning period for all of us, especially if we vested a lot of time and energy and effort, and depends on the situation as well. There might be, maybe there are children involved. It's breaking up with someone, no matter their circumstance, is not always easy. It's difficult, and it could be incredibly emotional as well, but we want to make sure that we do it in a very healthy way, so we're not the person that wants to run back to maybe a particularly bad relationship. We want to be able to look forward and seek our future as an individual. I know some coping mechanisms could be like overeating or drinking, excessive drinking. Not the healthiest coping mechanisms. We want to be able to stay focused on your future and what that looks like for you. It's a beautiful world out there, and to not enjoy it is detrimental to your own self growth and to figuring out who you are as an individual. You want to embrace being happy and embrace the change that is about to occur. There are people that have a very difficult time with change. I, for one, am the type of person who loves change. I like embracing change because it's a challenge, and it's like, okay, this is going to be something new, and how can I make it the best for myself? And so being able to look at things from a positive perspective and trying to find the happiness in yourself isn't can be difficult, especially if you came from such a negative relationship. I, for one, I feel, based on my upbringing, I've always been a pretty positive person. And so being able to find the optimistic side of every situation is something that's kind of like my superpower, I guess I can say, no matter the situation. And there's some situations that I've experienced that I could have very easily have played and been the victim, but I chose not to. And so I've always had a pretty strong head on my shoulders. So being able to see things from a positive perspective, no matter how ugly they are sometimes, is what's going to set you apart and what's going to help you cope with, your new life as being single. I have a very dear friend of mine who I've known since fifth grade. We've known each other for a very long time. She is one of the dearest friends that I have to this day. And I remember having some conversations with her around the time I was getting a divorce. And one of the things that she told me, she's like, no matter what, you have to stay busy. That's like one of the biggest things that you can do for yourself after a breakup is staying active and staying busy. So some things that, you want to be able to envision is like, what does your life look like in your mind, in your future? What does your life look like from a positive perspective, without your ex partner? Like what, ask yourself, what does yours, what do you envision? I can envision quite easily just a life without that person, because I can see things from a very positive perspective now. And I have a lot of um, ideas and things that I've been wanting to do for a while when I was in that relationship, the things that I can do like right now for myself. Um, Music has always inspired me. I love music. I've been around music for quite a long time. I grew up with many different genres of music thanks to my parents. Little known fact, I actually played the clarinet and I played the piano growing up. And so, so music has always been very influential in my life. And I remember one of the first things I did as soon as that relationship was over is I created a playlist for myself. I created this very powerful, I am woman, I am fierce, I am independent on my own. So I created a playlist for myself. And so putting some of those songs on there and listening to them like nonstop just to help get me through some of those tough situations that I had. Music is a very powerful instrument, and it speaks to us, and it can take us to a very negative place, and it can take us to a very awe-inspiring place. And what's nice, this is something that I would recommend everyone do, especially if you love music as much as I do, create a playlist for yourself. And once you get to a point, and this is actually far more empowering than me creating the playlist, once I got to a point where I was really comfortable and I felt really safe, I deleted the entire playlist. It's gone. I don't have it anymore. I had it on my Spotify for a while and I deleted the entire thing because guess what? I was at a point where I didn't need it anymore. And I recommend doing that. It was a lot of fun being able to go and find music that inspired me. And now I don't have to listen to that playlist anymore. It was something that I didn't need. It was like this. There is a book that I just saw out there. It has a matchbook on the front of the front of the cover, and it's called Burn After Reading. And so I think that's another inspiring tool for you to use. Is you purchase the book, and it has like these little comments at the top where you talk about, it gives you like a prompt to talk about. And then once you're done with the entire book, the whole purpose of the book is burning it. So me creating that playlist was almost the same thing as me creating the playlist and then deleting it when I felt I needed to delete it, was me basically burning that playlist, and I don't need it again. I didn't need it to inspire me anymore because I've been in such a good, healthy place. And so I would recommend, creating a playlist for yourself. Another thing that I have been, that I do a lot is being active, being physically active. So one of the things that I've always wanted to do prior to leaving that relationship was I wanted to learn how to do pole fitness. I was always intrigued by pole fitness. It looks like it was a lot of hard work, and it just looked like it was something fun to do. Um, I'm not the type who's been super athletic, I can say. Growing up, I was actually pretty clumsy. I was kind of adverse to sports growing up, but now, being older now, I'm getting into sports. And so I do a lot of yoga and I also do pole fitness. And when I left my relationship, one of the first things I got was a pole, and I got that set up in my new place on my own. And it was a lot of fun because it's something that I've always wanted to do. And the girls that I've met in that class and the instructors have just been absolutely wonderful. We are all encouraging and in a safe place, and it doesn't matter your body type because we all feel safe with one another. We know that we're not going to be judged. We know that we're not going to be scrutinized for how we look. And it's really fun to be in such a good, positive, encouraging environment with girls that have been in similar situations such as myself. And we've all coming together for one purpose, because we want to feel good about ourselves. So being active has been very important to me in my self journey. Um, Another thing that I would recommend is spending quality time with family and friends. I know I had shared in previous episodes where I was kind of limited to how often I could talk to my family and talk to my friends and hang out with my friends. And it's been really a good emotional journey for me to be able to reconnect with my family, especially my family, because I hold them very high. And in my book, they are the people that I love, and these are the people that have helped me grow up to be the person I am today. And so being able to reconnect with family on a much deeper level has been a very good part of me being on my own and, again, life after a serious relationship. I get to spend quality time with friends now, and that's been really good because friends won't always tell you what they see day in, day out, especially when it's negative and when you're in a volatile relationship. I had a few conversations with some close friends of mine where they're like, I cannot believe I can't believe you married him. And of course I jokingly say, well, thank you for the warning. And of course, it's all good and fun when I kind of a little snarky with them, not in a disrespectful way, but again, it's because they love me and they're so supportive of me. They weren't completely honest, at the time, but they were able to be, honest when I was no longer in that relationship. And one of the things that's been really cool to witness is just how much they've noticed, my self journey and how much I've blossomed in the last couple years. And so being able to reconnect with family and friends has been part of my journey. And that is another thing that I would recommend someone that is, you know, just coming out of a relationship, or they want to start, being able to, connect with the people that have been there for them throughout their years. Um, I Another thing that I like doing, I love to write. So writing has always been something that's always been very interesting to me. I love to write. I feel like for as much writing as I've done over the last couple years, probably 3 years, I could probably put all of it in one novel and have this really long book. Now, most of it wouldn't really make sense, but the point is the fact that I did. I write a lot. And I think that being able to journal is important, because you're able to kind of get your emotions out, whether it be negative or positive, just how you're feeling in the moment, just write it all down. And then, you can go back and read through it, and you get to see how you've evolved from the time that you started writing to, maybe 1 to 5 years down the road. And it's really nice to be able to go back and, read through those things and like, oh, that's, and tell yourself, the person I was then is not the person I am now. And so being able to write, for you I think is another important thing to do when you are, single. Um, One of the things I've always wanted to do was travel. So one of the first things I did, um, is I ended up booking a flight to Boston, Massachusetts. I love Boston. I will definitely go back to that city, but it was nice to be able to do some traveling on my own, where I was on my own for a couple days and getting to enjoy the city and walking around and being inspired and taking pictures. I actually have this photograph that I took the first day I was there. It was the lighting of this building. There was no traffic around, no cars, no people. And it was one of my favorite pictures. I actually got it hung up in another part of my place that I have right now, and it's inspiring to me because it's something that, hey, this is something I've always wanted to do, and I got to do it for myself. So that was another part of my self journey. So thus far in being out of that volatile relationship. Now, how you see yourself in the future, I think another thing that's important to do is write down what you've accomplished thus far. Even if it is as little as you think it is or as minor as you think it is, write it down. Like, what have you accomplished either in a positive manner in your past relationship, or you're currently doing now that you're out of that relationship. So what are your accomplishments? And again, it doesn't matter how small or big it could be. It could be as simple as, hey, I've made an effort to go hiking, on a weekly basis. That is something that you're accomplishing. And it's nice to be able to write down a list of what you're accomplishing now and what you want to accomplish in the future, and just kind of create like this playlist for yourself, or I guess what they call it, a bucket list. I guess a bucket list is a little bit of a different term, but just what are you wanting to do? What are you wanting to accomplish right now in life? Another thing that took me a bit to establish, and I think that it's also important that it's helped me in my self journey so far, is creating a routine for yourself. I remember the first probably couple weeks I was on my own, and I had to figure out a new routine for myself. And it wasn't easy at first because I was always forgetting something, either in the morning or, afternoon or evening. I was always forgetting something. And then I finally got into my routine, and then it just became a habit. And it's something that provided me some comfort day in, day out. And I think that is, creating a good routine for yourself will be helpful in establishing at least some normalcy in your day-to-day life. Being on your own has been this really fabulous journey so far. I've had a lot of self-growth. I've got to do things that I've always wanted to do. I don't have someone, I don't have a person that is holding me back and telling me what I can and cannot do. Perfect example is me starting this podcast. So this podcast is part of my self journey. I've always liked being creative, and I've always envisioned myself having some type of channel or podcast that I could record every week and then have released every week. And this is part of my journey. And I hope that you're able to find something that you've always wanted to do and now you're doing it. Or if you're not doing it right now, take some baby steps to be able to accomplish that. One of the most important steps for me, and it was something that I didn't even give to myself. My best friend actually is the one that kind of helped start me on my journey, and the first thing that I was given was this microphone. It was he did research on it, and this is kind of the start of the podcast. And so I'm very thankful that I have someone in my corner that is able to help inspire me on a day-to-day basis, and being able to just be given, the first step to being able to do this podcast has been a very fulfilling journey so far. And it's not always easy. I will admit it's not always easy because, sometimes you just get I get a little bit of writer's block here and there, but the thing is I persevere and I keep pushing forward, seeking out what your future looks like. What does your future look like? What do you want it to look like? What do you want to accomplish? And if you don't know what that is, guess what? It's okay. It's okay if you don't know. You don't have to know at this point. It's nice to be on a self-awareness journey. It's nice to be able to evolve. It's nice to be able to find things that make you happy, find things that make you want to be the best version of yourself. I have another friend of mine who, when I moved out, she kindly said how brave I was for being willing to separate myself from such a long-term relationship and trying to make it on my own and trying to figure out what I want and who I am again. And one of the phrases she's told me, she's like, what makes your heart sing? Now, that could be taken and you can apply that to almost anything in your life. Like, what makes your heart sing? What are you passionate about? And do it. And if you don't like it, guess what? You don't have to do it anymore. You can find something else to do. So life after a breakup will be hard at first because of the emotions and probably a lot of thinking that you'll be doing at the beginning. And not always thinking is going to be the best for you. You can't just sit at home and always be thinking about the past and thinking what you could have done differently or thinking how it could have been different. You can't look at that because guess what? The past is in the past and there's nothing that you can do now to change the past. But what you can do is change yourself. You can change who you are right now. You can be inspired and create an entire future for you. And that is what's going to get you from day 1 to day 2 to day 3 to however many days it takes to be comfortable with being on your own, to be comfortable and loving who you are as a person. And I think that's really important, is loving who you are. If you don't know who you are, it's okay, because guess what? You get to figure out exactly the type of person you are. I feel like deep down, who I am right now has always been this version of myself, even back then, but I was just in these really volatile relationships that held me back and pushed me down and just didn't want to see who I was because they needed a version of what they thought I should be. And that's exhausting. You don't want to live like that either. So just take some time for yourself and be able to find out who you are and make some different choices and keep yourself busy. That's what is going to help you through this entire process, is keeping yourself very busy. So I hope that you found some insight in today's episode. If you are in a relationship, hold your partner close. Tell them that you love them and how much you appreciate them. If you are not in a relationship, or you're just leaving a relationship and you're trying to figure out who you are on your own, guess what? That's okay, because this is part of your self journey. Create and work towards being the best version of yourself. Find out who you are and be inspired. Make sure that you surround yourself with people that love you and care for you for who you are, and keep your distance from people that are just toxic to you. So love yourself, know your self-worth, and I hope that you find inspiration, and I hope that you find the best kind of love that you will be very deserving of. Thank you for listening. And as always, yours truly, the Romantic Cynic.